Hollywood is financially on the decline at the moment, and interest in superhero-related content is at an all-time low. And that's why I decided to make this video, because I'm used to talking to myself and yelling into the void about unpopular topics. But also, I keep preaching that we need to create new heroes rather than stealing the spotlight from existing heroes. So I thought we could create a resource together. So what makes a superhero popular anyway? Hi there. You can call me Professor, and I will be your instructor during this class. What makes a superhero popular?
Hey! 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 That's my line! Hey! That's my line!
If you don't want to fall into the creatively bankrupt formula of stealing identities of existing heroes or creating duplicates of successful characters in the name of mantles, you must understand what makes the successful heroes work. Batman and Iron Man, for example.
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Not to mention charisma and personality, cool tech, a butler, the list is long. But if you're a supervillain who wants to take them out, pop them in the face or inflict any other significant physical harm. Very simple rules around their abilities, what makes them cool, and the kind of stakes at play when they come up against villains. If you're going against Superman, he may appear formidable at first, but to take him down, the steps are simple. Start by asking him personal questions about his cycle.
Do you bleed?
Then ask even more personal questions.
Why did you say that name?
Then send his father into the heart of a tornado. Then when he's demoralized, inflict any sort of damage with a green rock. You can paint one in your backyard with your kids' arts and craft supplies. No? What do you mean? Okay, my assistant says the rock has to come from a place called Krypton? Groupton? What? Krypton? Krypton. Yes, Krypton. Yes, Krypton. I was just testing you to see if you're all paying attention. What about SpiderMan? The proportionate strength of a spider, swinging through the city in a really cool and animated way. Some versions self-generate webs from the wrist, crawling on walls and ceilings. My spidey sense is tingling. Very charming and funny. The list is even longer than the previous heroes. And if you want to take him out, buy him a nice dinner because he's broke and relatable. But if you want to take him out the other way, pop him in the face, stab him in the back, or inflict any form of significant physical harm. Same thing with Black Panther, the king of Wakanda, who has so much cool going for him, from his kingdom and army to the Black Panther suit and his affiliation to actual Black Panthers, to his attitude and abilities. Or we can even switch over to his friend the super soldier, Captain America, who is a bit of a mini tank himself. Or even Daredevil with his superior unsighted abilities.
How did you just do that? I'm a really good lawyer.
Or the Punisher, who is a one-man army.
You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down.
Or the Ant-Man. But if you want to get Luke Cage, you can't pop him in the face or stab him in the back, because Luke Cage is the man. But he's also bulletproof. You have to get more creative, but significant blunt force trauma to the head will do the trick. So although his skin is impenetrable, he's not immune to CTE, which is very relatable. But if you want to get the Flash, shoot him through the knee. Robin, a crowbar. Green Lantern, a number 2 pencil. The Hulk? I don't know. Adamantium maybe might help? But if you get him off his gamma steroid cycle, you might stand a chance. But his lack of self-control when he's off on a rage-induced rampage is a bit of a fun fantasy for a lot of people. The opportunity to just let loose and rage out is a form of therapy that many people actually pay for in the real world. But when we get to guys like Moon Knight and the Sentry, although they have cult followings, those become a little more niche. They're cool and interesting heroes, but they don't appeal to a very wide demo because their powers are a little more complicated to explain and their mental states are also in question, and not in the bombastic, massively popular way that the Joker is. What I'm basically getting at is the most popular heroes are cool, have fun powers, and can easily be explained. You know and understand their strengths and limitations from the jump, which makes problem solving very engaging. Unlike anime and manga, the characters don't unlock new powers every time they are knocked down. I swear, I never believed that any of Naruto's villains were beaten after any fight because they just kept getting back up after defeat with new powers. How many times has an anime character risen from defeat, like a video game boss with multiple phases? I know anime characters are popular as well, but the rules around their powers feel like they're being made up as they go for dramatic effect. With Western superheroes, you know all the stakes going in, and rarely, if ever, will they suddenly discover a new power in the heat of battle. You know Batman will not suddenly lift up a car or a building, for example. In the spirit of diversity, I always advocate for new Over Repurposed, because I came from an era where everyone stood out as an individual brand. Hip-hop in the 90s had rappers who were marketed like they were half superheroes and half WWE personas. Do you remember the Def Jam games?
Hey, yo, Red. Yeah, what up? You see what I see? Yeah, I see what you see.
Man, come on, y'all. Give me somebody who can really hang. Y'all really think this cat can handle the dog?
The rappers featured in those games were as distinct as any Street Fighter or Tekken character because everyone had their own voice and gimmick. The WWF was the same. All the characters were larger than life and took risks with new ideas that would either sink or swim. Today, unfortunately, all the entertainment properties have changed and homogenized their talent to the detriment of their entire industries. Rap music all sounds the same and dresses the same, and nobody in the WWE can reach the heights of the 90s. Everyone is so risk-averse now for fear of failure, but counterintuitively, they've also pushed unpopular characters to the point of collapse of the superhero-led industries. The excuse that a character who is not affiliated to an existing brand will fail does not hold water anymore, because the characters who steal mantles from popular time-tested characters are failing, and have been failing for the last 8 years, but comics and movies are quadrupling down on them. So if these industries have money to burn, they might as well burn them on new ideas. And now we get to the Kamala Khans of the world. From her inception, it was obvious that she was never going to be a massively popular character, and it had nothing to do with her religion or ethnicity. If you're creating a hero for young girls to look up to, you need to have her appeal to things that young girls actually like. No girl I have ever met in all the stages of my life has had the fantasy of one day waking up with massive hands and feet or awkward lanky limbs. This would actually be a huge point of insecurity for any young girl because it's the opposite of what they would consider appealing, so Kamala Khan instantly becomes unattractive to them. You've already lost your target demo there, so there were no surprises when the TV show came out and changed her powers to something that was equally not cool. Another issue that comes with a lot of these characters that they try to force on the public is that they are insanely powerful and have limited obstacles. I'll not go deep into this one because I discussed it in my Cars review, go check that out. What they could easily have done with Kamala is make her a singer or a dancer or an athlete, and to cut the origin story, just make her a mutant from the onset, which is what they're trying to do now because the Inhumans were not very popular. Then she would already be athletic but just need a bit more augmentation. You could borrow aspects from Black Widow or Sue Storm, and then maybe give her teleportation powers. Give her speed and grace and agility, and even the ability to manipulate her density and weight, from light as a balloon to heavy as an anvil, while still retaining her physical form. Or make her a detective and give her powers that lend themselves to being a perceptive investigator, and then nerf her other abilities so that she's not too overpowered. She can maybe turn invisible and see through walls and is capable of basic combat and parkour, but cannot take on much stronger foes, so she needs to be sneaky and cunning. Then give her a great costume and retain her Pakistani Muslim family heritage and values, and I guarantee you, with a half-decent plot, this character would have way more mileage than Kamala Khan. Every attribute that you give to the character has to be calculated and deliberately cool to young girls. Very clear and easy to explain powers and an entertaining lifestyle that would appeal to the target demo and possibly even go outside the target demo. It's so simple, just give her a characteristic that makes her stand out, like a great detective who solves puzzles like Velma Dinkley with powers, or a very determined girl who gets back up every time she gets beaten down, or a smart girl who is able to take on much bigger foes and use all the tools available to her to outsmart them, kinda like SpiderMan, and just write compelling, suspenseful stuff like they did with Jessica Jones with genuine stakes. I loved that show. It was real and gritty and focused on female issues but did not pander. so it brought in a large male audience as well. And Jessica, might I add, was a completely original character that Bendis created because Marvel would not let him mess around too much with Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman. If the writers were smart, they would borrow successful elements from other characters instead of taking their costumes and calling them a mantle. Just pinch a personality here, a power set there, a villain dynamic here, a motivation there. Because when you look at Spider-Man, Black Panther, Daredevil, and Captain America, you will find similarities. But the differences come in with every other embellishment they have, either in personality, training, motivation, or combat technique. Hulk and the Thing as well. The bulk and super strength is there, but it's augmented by so many other qualities that make them stand apart. Then once you create the character, don't force them front and center. We don't know them, so our first instinct will be resistance. You need to pepper them into other stories and let them play their cameo role without any heavy-handed coaxing. They can have light team-ups with the main Marvel heroes and become friends and check in on each other. And if you play the long game, people will start to demand to see these characters more, instead of you forcing the characters on people. Look into the history of Popeye and Spider-Man and several other massively popular characters who cameoed in other books or stories. It was fan demand that elevated them from a cameo role to a main character role. And the same goes for Miles. I say it all the time. Take away the Spider-Man aspects of his powers and give him any of the things I mentioned for Kamala, but leaning towards a male audience, and you instantly have a new hit character with no baggage or association to a historic character. Maybe I'm insane, but it's unbelievably easy from my perspective to create a likable new character. But that's all I have for today's lesson, the rest is homework. Let's mix and match powers, personalities, and hero-villain dynamics and do what this entertainment bigwigs have completely failed at doing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. Hello? Is it over? Did everyone leave?